Hello, welcome to another episode of Subro Sessions. My name is Lian Skaf, and I'm a partner in the Subrogation Department at White and Williams. This is our third in a series of episodes called Getting to Know Subro, in which we will meet the talented subrogation attorneys in our group who you have come accustomed to listening to and oftentimes working with. I'll be your humble host through this sub-series. In my former life, before becoming a subrogation attorney myself, I was a newspaper reporter, so I'll be doing my best to summons all of my previous interviewing skills as I lead everyone on this journey of acquaintance. I am pleased to introduce our third guest in the Getting to Know series, Bill Schmidt. Bill has been an attorney at White and Williams for a while now and has just about over a month to go before a well earned retirement. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Leon.
All right, Bill. So, as I mentioned to you, this is a little bit more informal, kind of learn about some of the attorneys in our practice. And, in your case, kind of a precursor to a farewell, I suppose. It's the end of August is your retirement, correct?
Friday, August 29, but who's counting?
Exactly. You got that on your calendar, I'm sure. So let's start there if you don't mind. What are, some things you're looking forward to, maybe a little nervous about for retirement?
Well, the nervous part is how do I fill the time that I've spent for the last 42 years doing the work that I do? That is making me a little apprehensive, but I'm hoping to play as much golf as humanly possible, get more exercise than I've gotten over the last few years. And my wife and I just welcomed our first grandchild, so I'm hoping to spend a lot of time with her.
Congratulations. So, from people in my own family and, attorneys that I've worked with and alongside, they seem to go two different ways. One of, all right, now's my time to relax and recreation and family, or I'm starting a new career. I'm going to, build this company or do this thing I've always wanted to do. I sounds like you're maybe in the former lane. Is that right?
No career for me, Leon. I've had a career. I'm done with that. I just want to enjoy life and I want to do some things, travel and things of that nature while I still can.
Yeah. I mean, my when my father retired, he had plans of he was a doctor and had plans of, starting a new company and all this. And all he's really done since then is play tennis every day. So, and I think that's what he wanted to do. It sounds like maybe you'll be doing similarly with golf.
Well, I know when our former mentor, Mr. Parash, is retired, he cut all ties to his bar admissions. He took no more CLEs. I'm falling in that boat. I'm not going to keep my license. I'm not planning to do anything related to the law. I'm just trying to hopefully enjoy life.
Yeah, and I remember when Peter retired, and before he did so, he sent out a memo to I forget if it was all the attorneys in our group or all the attorneys in the firm saying, essentially, I'm walking into the sunset. You won't see me around. And it was hard to believe because he had his hands in everything, but he was true to his word.
And, when you speak to him, he's been retired since 2015, so it's 10 years. He loves it. He can't get enough of retirement. He was so happy. And he was a guy, as you said, he had his hand in everything. It was a 24/7 job for him, and he made the clean break. So I'm hoping that I can do the same thing.
Yeah, I hear you. I know one of the things that you've kind of done, at least since I've known you in your career, and kind of low key is your pro bono work. I guess are you going to miss that, or is there any way? I guess if you're not going to keep your license, you're not going to continue that. But
I really don't want to keep the license, and in order to do the work, you have to keep the license. I've talked to Pat Malley at HAP, Homeless Advocacy Project, and she would be very happy for me to continue doing work for them. But I told her, Pat, you need somebody who's admitted to the bar, and I'm not going to be admitted to the bar. So I'll miss that because it's rewarding work. But as I said, I want to make a clean break with anything having to do with my bar admission.
yeah, I understand. HAP is a great program I'm involved in as well, and Pat does a great job there too. You mentioned getting some more exercise. I know maybe a few years back you were a big basketball guy. I'm sure you still are following it, but I don't know about playing it. Are you going to reintroduce that into your workout routine?
My knees won't allow it, Leon. If I could play basketball, I would, but I physically can't do it. So my hope is to get a bicycle and ride around the streets of South Jersey. I'll be doing a lot of walking. And as I said, I'll be doing a lot of golfing.
Now, remind me, how far did your basketball career go?
Well, I played 4 years at Division III, Dickinson College. And then when I graduated from Dickinson, I met a bunch of guys in law school who were all college basketball players as well. I played more basketball in law school than I played in college.
Oh, wow.
All over the city of Pittsburgh playing basketball. And then after that, when I started to work at White and Williams, I had some college friends who played with me at Dickinson, and we just played in summer leagues. And I played up until I was 52. But every year I'd hurt myself, and every year the doctor would say, stop playing basketball. So I finally had to stop.
And at one point, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was before my time, but White and Williams had a team too, right?
White and Williams had a team starting when I started. I found out there was a lawyers basketball league. I reached out to the guy who ran the league and I said, Joe, can we enter a team? He said, sure. So I got a team together. We had a basketball team. I think we still do, if there's still a league. But the last time I went over there, there were still the same referees refereeing the games. That was like 5 years ago because my son, who was working for Cozen O'Connor at the time, was playing for their team. So I went over and I saw all the old referees. And remember Kane, who used to work for us?
Yes.
He was running the team.
Oh, wow.
And when I showed up, Kane became very excited and said, are you playing? I said, absolutely not. I'm here as a spectator.
Well, maybe you could coach one day. Well, let's talk a little bit about your career. So I know you didn't always do subrogation, right? So you started on the other side. Is that right?
I started doing, I guess you call it property defense work, although it was a mishmash of stuff that Peter brought in and that Dick Hopkins, who was Peter's mentor, was handling before he retired. And I did a lot of defense work, which had nothing to do with property. I did dram shop work where you're defending the bars who are being sued for over serving the patrons. I did errors and omissions work for insurance agents and brokers. And I did some traditional property damage defense work. But the good news about being a defense lawyer and getting paid by the hour is that those are the cases that you try because you make money if you go to trial. Unlike the contingency practice where the more hours you spend, the less money you make.
Yeah.
I had clients that let me try cases from the beginning. I started at White and Williams in 83 and I tried my first case in 84. And I just kept trying them because the clients would allow it, they'd pay for it. And it was actually a lot of fun. When I switched, I didn't switch full time probably until the early 2000s. And when I switched, the number of trials reduced drastically because it didn't make sense to the client or to us to spend all that time preparing for and trying a case unless that was the absolute last resort. So I missed that part of it from the defense side. But from the subrogation standpoint, Peter looked and said, you're going to do better for the department if you switch sides. We ended up sending all the defense work to the casualty department at some point, and we became totally Subro.
Yeah, I guess that's why at one point we referred to ourselves as property rather than subrogation
Exactly.
department, right?
We
Yeah.
were the property department, and then we switched to subrogation because we divested all of the defense work.
Yeah, so as a subrogation attorney, I mean, I've only done the plaintiff side, obviously. We're always trying to get in the heads of what does the defense counsel think. I guess you come from a valuable point of view where you were that defense counsel. I mean, was that helpful to you when you switched sides to the subro side?
Very helpful. And I got to know a lot of the guys in the defense bar. You knew who was good and who wasn't. You knew who was just doing it so they could bill rather than doing it because they're doing the right job. And I became kind of cynical with some of the people. I mean, some of the jurisdictions that we practice in, these guys are only doing it because they're getting paid by the hour. They don't need to do it. I had somebody call me when I was a defense lawyer and say, well, you're going to file preliminary objections to that thing? I said, I don't file those. He goes, I file them in every case. I get paid. So it's just the way people are. So I got to know enough guys where if I have a case in the jurisdictions where I did defense work, I know immediately if it's going to be a case that I can resolve because the guy on the other side knows what he or she is doing. And it's the same thing if somebody's there that I know is just out there to bill. I know I'm in for the long slog.
Right. And cut through a lot of red tape. Yeah. Well, before, I guess from my point of view, before I became partner, for the listeners, I worked for Bill for about almost a decade, I guess, directly. And obviously, picking up on your style of litigation or even just practice in general, I found it to be the way that you practice to be very methodical, very organized and structured. And, you did the same thing like when 1 month out, few weeks out, few months out, so that it was, and I found that to be really helpful and take some of the stress out of, things that are naturally stressful for me to kind of mimic that approach to know that if I have a routine, you know, things are not going to get overwhelming. So is that something you did purposefully? Is that just your nature or how did you go about, assuming you think I'm correct about that practice style, how did you go about developing that?
I think you're right. I am methodical. I try to be organized. And to me, that was the way to handle every case. And I started doing that as a defense lawyer and just switched it over to the subrogation side. The hard part making the switch was you had to be reactive on the defense side. The plaintiff had to do something before you did something. Whereas the plaintiff in a subrogation case, you have to push the case. And that was kind of difficult. So for me, it was okay, you're switching sides here. You have to be the aggressor. This is how you're going to do it. And I kind of laid out an outline for every case as to what I wanted to do and how I wanted to push it. So, yeah, that's one of the things with the approaching retirement that I'm a little concerned about because I am such a structured person. I am such a routine guy, and I'm going to break my routine. I hope I can do that.
Well, you can tell me if it's a more recent thing or not, but in the past few years, I've noticed you've been going on some pretty cool trips. That's not routine. Was it you went on a safari? You went to Vietnam, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so that'll keep you on your toes, I guess, if you keep doing that.
Well, when I first began to work, I would not take more than 5 days off at a time because I didn't think I could do it. And then my wife convinced me to go to Southeast Asia, which was a 19-day trip. I almost pulled my hair out. It was so long. And then we went to Africa for even longer because if you're going to go, you have to go. You have to spend the time. And it didn't sit well with me taking all that time off. That's just my nature. But my wife wanted to do it.
Well, I assume you'll be traveling some more then as you have more free time. Any more
Well,
any plans?
right now, no. We just bought a house in South Jersey. So that's taken up all my wife's time. That's taken up all my money. So we're going to deal with that for a while. We don't have any trips planned, but there's another couple that we travel with all the time. And he just had a knee replacement. So he's not going to travel anytime soon either. So when he's ready and we get over the house issues, we'll probably start traveling again next year.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, as you kind of wind up, where do you see the subrogation in general? I mean, any advice that you could give for people either just starting out or in the meat of their careers in subrogation? Just kind of pass on some wisdom.
I guess my wisdom, and I see it in all the young people that work for me, either as lawyers or clerks, pay attention to the details. Don't do something quickly just because you want to do it quickly. Do it properly, get it right, get the details down, even in the smallest things. Don't send an email until you read it, for example, because it's embarrassing. Some things that I've seen go out to our clients with mistakes because somebody didn't do a simple proofread. I mean, nothing that we do is all that difficult in terms of concepts. We're not rocket scientists here. We're dealing with concepts that are understandable, but you have to take the time to read it and understand it before you can go forward. And too many times, the younger people that have worked for me just want to do it quickly. Quickly is not always the best way. So, my advice to the younger people is take your time, get it right. Don't push the send button until you know that everything is the way it should be. And don't file a lawsuit until you know everything's the way it should be.
Very good advice. All right, I won't keep you. I end with the same 5 questions, so if you have a quick answer to any of them, feel free. Number 1, what do you think made you a good subrogation attorney?
Well, I'm not so sure that I qualify as a good subrogation attorney, but it's a matter of taking the time, making sure you understand, questioning those people that are telling you, I'm the expert and this is what happened. Don't take that for granted. Ask them hard questions and just listen to others, get all the facts, get all the opinions, and then make your call. I've tried to do that. I mean, you know that we get 10 cases in the door and we close 9 of them, but you can't treat those 9 that you close any differently than the one that makes you money, because if you do that, you'll make mistakes and the clients won't be happy. So I treated every case the same. I gave it the same detailed analysis. If I knew the case should close, I would tell the client that, but I would tell the client that and make the client understand that it hurt me more than it hurt them to close the file. So,
Right. Number 2, ideal location for a site inspection, anywhere you think you'd like to go?
in terms of ideal location, I don't think there is one for a site inspection, only because you have to go to the site inspection and a fire scene is dirty and smelly and sometimes dangerous, and a flood scene is muddy and smelly and also sometimes dangerous. So no matter where you go, if you go to the scene, it's not ideal. Now, if you're telling me that I have some time off after the scene investigation, I'd go to San Diego.
There you go. Okay. Well, that's where the next NASP conference is. So,
There you go.
all right. I'll put this in past tense because I know you're just going to take it easy now. But if you hadn't been a subrogation attorney, what do you think you would have done for a living?
I think I missed my calling as a sports broadcaster.
Okay.
I think that's something that I would have been good at. I would have liked that, but it's not something that I ever was able to get into.
Give us a recommendation: book, TV show, movie, music, anything you've seen lately or think you want someone to watch or listen to or read.
Well, if you had asked me this 10 years ago, I wouldn't have an answer because, when I was really into the practice, I didn't watch movies.
Yeah.
I didn't watch television except sports.
Right.
Now that I've started to wind down a little bit, my wife has gotten me into some of these blockbuster series. And my favorite, I have to admit, is Breaking Bad. I love that show. And the Better Call Saul spinoff, I love that
I was
too.
gonna say I like the spinoff almost as much because I it's one of the most accurate, I think, presentations of the legal, world.
I mean, I'm getting into all these. There's like a top 20 list of TV series.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go through the 20 now that I'm
Yeah, now you got
getting
time.
ready
Right.
to,
That's
to,
right.
to
And
try.
last one, what is one thing you think people might be surprised to know or you'd want people to know or something about yourself?
The surprising thing, if you ask my friends, my good friends from college, they would all tell you I have a very, very good sense of humor. You wouldn't know that from having worked with me, but they all think I'm very funny. So
I think I
that's
know that. I know that there's an office bill and an out of office bill, right?
well,
That's
the out of office bill, if you speak to my friends, they would tell you that I have a good sense of humor.
Well, thank you, Bill. I'll just say personally, I mean, you've been a great mentor and help for me personally for my career. So thank you for that and for the department. And we wish you the best in retirement.
All right. Thank you, Lian. I appreciate it.
And thank you for listening to this episode of Subro Sessions. You can find past episodes of the podcast on the White and Williams homepage, whiteandwilliams.com. Hover over the Insights link and select podcasts to find past episodes.
We would like to remind everyone that the contents of this podcast are intended for general informational purposes only, and you are urged to consult a lawyer concerning your own situation with respect to any specific legal question you may have. The podcast should not be construed as legal advice for a particular situation or to give a legal opinion on any specific facts or circumstances. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.